PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Check out all the content we have on there. We have our articles, live streams. We have our videos, audio links as well. So go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Our most recent article, I talked about the Portland Trailblazers and how they need to rebuild now, not later, out there in the NBA. So go check out that article on thesportsangle.com. Also, for all audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all the platforms we share the show to, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications not miss any episode of The Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Also, to the network, go to their website, PRConnectionsRadio.com. Check out all the content they have on there. We have over a dozen shows on this network, so we definitely would appreciate you going out and watching their content as well. The 2023 NFL season is finally here. We had the Hall of Fame game with all their technical issues and the lighting going out in the stadium, but it was still good to have the NFL come back. You had the New York Jets, led by Aaron Rodgers, thankfully lose to the Cleveland Browns during the Hall of Fame game, but it's going to be amazing to have the NFL back. And, of course, it is time to do our annual tradition. This is about the 5th time that we are going to be doing this here on the Sports Angle. It is the NFL Awards Prediction Show here on the Sports Angle. And, of course, I have to bring on my good friend, a good buddy of mine, someone who's doing an amazing job putting out content for Stay Tuned Live. Of course, I'm talking about the CEO himself, Josh Bailey. How's it going, my good friend?
What's up? What's up, Ian, man? Appreciate you having me, man.
And I will say to everyone who hasn't watched his content on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, go watch Stay Tuned Live. I'm on there every once in a while, but it's an amazing show. I highly recommend it. It's a great testimonial for me.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Now, of course, the first award we have to get into is the NFL MVP. All right, the most valuable player in the NFL. Now, we all know that there has been one player who has been dominant as the NFL MVP as of late, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes has been the best football player in the world for the last couple of years. He has been the one that has definitely been all eyes on him. And he is actually one of the odds-on favorites for the NFL MVP. So before we do our predictions, and I'll have Josh go first, then I will go myself, let's kind of break down who the 5 players are at the top and really talk about their potential of being MVP. How about with Patrick Mahomes? How about we start out with him? What potential does he have of winning NFL MVP for a 3rd time in his career?
I think he's the favorite. His team just came off a Super Bowl. He came off with probably one of the best stat-wise, the best performance as a quarterback. So until, like you said all the time, you got to beat the best. You know what I mean? So right, he's definitely the favorite right now, especially being a quarterback, and it's a quarterback-driven league, and he's the best in the league right now. So until somebody come and take that from him, yeah, he's number one in my book.
Now, every year, NFL Network comes out with their top 100 players list. And Patrick Mahomes, there's always been this debate. Is he the best player in the NFL, or is just because he's the quarterback, that's the most popular position in the NFL? He is. That's why he's number one. Do you think he is the true, undisputed best player in the NFL right now? Or is there another position player that you can think of that you would say, no, actually, I think he's the most dominant player in the NFL. He just happens to not be a quarterback.
I mean, over the last couple of years, other than Aaron Rodgers probably winning the MVP, I would say it's Mahomes. You know what I mean? I think it's a mixture of both. Popularity, it's a quarterback-driven league. He puts up the numbers. His team wins, and he's the best player on that team. He's the face of that team and almost the face of the NFL. So I think, yeah, it all goes hand in hand. And he's probably number one on all those lists. So I can't really think of nobody in another position. We got some great players, but nobody just on the Mahomes level.
You know what? I know there's a certain Dallas Cowboys fans going to go, what about Parsons? What about Parsons?
Yeah,
But anyway,
Parsons.
we'll leave that alone.
Yeah. I mean, Parsons is good. You know what I mean? He's up there, but not on Mahomes level yet. If he ever gets there.
So the first candidate on the NFL MVP is, of course, the odds-on favorite, and that is Patrick Mahomes. I've said this on this show. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and the man right now is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Now, second on the list, and of course, I'm using Caesar Sportsbook as my reference since I'm here in the sports betting capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Makes sense for me to use Caesars as my reference here. Second is Joe Burrow, the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, the guy who's really been one of the only players to get under his skin, and I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Joe Burrow has been one of the only few quarterbacks to beat Patrick Mahomes when it comes to the playoffs. Now, him being second really wouldn't have been surprising until about a week ago. Right. Until you had what happened at training camp, where he had an injury, and he's going to be out for a little bit. Do you think that has to affect his MVP shot when it comes to Joe Burrow, the fact that he did have an injury in training camp?
Of course, yeah, especially if he misses some time. They said he's missing several weeks, but plus he has still the preseason left. But if he misses like 4 weeks, yeah, it's definitely going to hurt his chances of winning that MVP. So yeah, that injury is not looking good. Like a lot of people saying you shouldn't be able to win the award if you miss a handful of games, or because NFL is only 17 weeks, 18 weeks. So if you miss like 4 or 5 weeks, yeah.
If you miss 1 or 2 games, I believe that is fair. But if you miss 6 or 7 weeks, I say that you should be taken out.
Nah. Yeah, because I mean, like, if they ball out, if he still comes in and balls out, of course he's supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? Games. But you still have
15 games is the minimum for you.
Right. No, I'm with that. You still gotta play majority of the year.
So yeah, Joe Burrow being number 2 in terms of the NFL MVP odds as we speak. And Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback. And the next quarterback on that list, third according to Caesar Sportsbook, and that is going to be around 750. And that is the guy who just got paid, very handsomely paid, by the LA Chargers, and that's Justin Herbert, the Oregon man himself, Justin Herbert. And this is a guy who is third on the NFL MVP odds. And Josh, I think your face tells the whole story. I mean, this guy has been good, don't get me wrong.
Right, he got talent.
But third in terms of MVP?
Right, no, that's not. I don't agree with that one. He hasn't done anything. You know what I'm saying? He puts up stats, yeah, but to me, MVP, you still got to get your team consistently to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because it's a regular season award, so you have to ball out during the regular season. He has hit and miss games. You know what I mean? He's, for the majority of his career, he's like the last couple of years, he's been good, but not to be third? Nah. Not
yeah, and I absolutely agree that it should not be that high. Now, if he was like 15-1, 20-1,
right,
if it was something like that, I would understand. You know, if he was on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, kind of around
right,
that level, I would get it. But to him to be higher than some other quarterbacks we're going to mention on this show, it's just really surprising. And I think that has to do a lot with Kellen Moore being brought over. And we have a mutual friend in King Czar who loves Kellen Moore. You know, he's like, oh, Kellen Moore is going to be great. Chargers are going to be fantastic. I've been telling him that, look, just because he was good for Dallas doesn't mean he's going to be good somewhere else.
Exactly. We just got to wait and see.
As a matter of fact, I've actually made an argument on this show in the past, and Czar always disagrees with me on this. I think the Dallas Cowboys actually make coordinators look better than they actually are. Like, I think the coordinators in Dallas actually do better once they're in Dallas because of the system that they're in.
Right. They got weapons over there. So they got a capable quarterback, and they put weapons around the quarterback, and they always seem like they have a running back. Like, yeah, that system, whatever system they have with that coordinator, it works because, to me, they have the weapons.
So that was Justin Herbert being third on that list. Now, fourth is Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Now, him being plus 900. That's 9-1 for anybody who wants to do the fraction odds. And Josh Allen being the cover athlete for Madden. Hey, this is live, folks. Anything can happen. Him being the cover athlete for Madden, there's always been that idea about the Madden curse. Now, I have my ideas on the Madden curse, but what about you, Josh? Do you believe in it? Do you not believe in it? Or do you think it's dead, like some people have mentioned in the past?
I used to believe in it. It was, to me, it was really a curse, but now, nah, I ain't really heard too much of it. If you're on the cover now, I don't think too many people get hurt. So, yeah, I think.
Wait,
it's
so who
dead
killed
now.
it though? Because there's always this like dispute. Because
Yeah, we was talking about it. I think it might have been oh, I've been hearing Grunt and Brady must have killed the curse. So, but I don't know. I retired Madden back in 02, 03, so I forgot. I think it's somebody said Grunt, but I remember you saying it though. I don't know if it was Grunt though, but I think
because there's always been this kind of dispute because Patrick Mahomes in 2019 won the Super Bowl after becoming the Madden cover athlete. Right. So a lot of people believe that's when it officially died, is when Mahomes won the Super Bowl as the cover athlete. But then there are some Madden purists or some Madden diehards who believe that when Calvin Johnson broke the all-time receiving record while being on the cover of Madden, that is when it ended.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about I forgot he was on the cover.
So it really just depends on who you ask. If it's an older person, someone who's been playing Madden forever, it's probably Calvin. Yeah. If it's younger, probably
I retired, so yeah, that man curse. But it was crazy how stuff used to happen when he was on the Vic was messed up. Vic, woo, that was crazy when Vic got it.
Yeah. And I'm going to mention these two players just because they are the best receiver and best running back, the non-quarterbacks that are MVP candidates. And we have to scroll all the way down. Like, it's not even on the first page. I got to go to the second page just to get there.
To get a non-quarterback?
To get a non-quarterback. Dang. And that person, by the way, is Justin Jefferson at 100-1 to win NFL MVP.
Dang, for real? So
that is how being a receiver or a running back, you are pretty much never going to win MVP because from the gate, you're 100-1.
Because Justin Jefferson had a great season last year, and for him to be that low still, and not Josh Allen, but Herbert didn't do it. Man, okay, that's crazy.
And Tyreek Hill is 125-1.
That's wild, man. Yeah,
if that doesn't tell you this is a quarterback award, I don't know what is. So.
Yeah. It was crazy because Czar and Dennis was talking last night. We didn't realize Thurman Thomas won it back in the day, but
back in either 91 or 92.
Yeah, 91.
Dallas the end of the year.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, since I gave you who the favorites are for the NFL awards predictions, let's go to the NFL MVP. Josh, I will have you start. Who is your prediction? Who do you have as your NFL MVP for this upcoming year?
Hey, I'm going to go with, I was going to say Mahomes, but to ruffle some feathers, because I know what viewers we got, hey, I'm going to go Josh Allen.
Ooh. Okay, yeah, all right. Explain that just a little bit.
Only one reason why, because of the first name. Other than that, he's a great quarterback, but I'm doing it because of the first name purposes solely. And he's a good quarterback, though. He's a great quarterback. But I'm pushing for him because of the first name.
Hey, look, I will always give Josh Allen props. He came from University of Wyoming, came from the Mountain West Conference, which is definitely I know a lot about. So I will say for Josh Allen, that is definitely a great idea. Now, I really do hope that also the NFL MVP doesn't jinx him either, because we have seen the past, the NFL MVP, you win it, and it affects you long term. So I will say, yes, that is Josh's MVP winner, Josh Allen, plus 750 according to Caesar Sportsbooks, and that is who you have winning NFL MVP.
And one more reason, because that boy Aaron Rodgers is in there. It'd be crazy if Aaron Rodgers goes to that division and then Josh Allen has an MVP type season. It's another reason.
I mean, it would be interesting to see Josh Allen win it, and especially if Aaron Rodgers, the absolute crybaby that he is, he complains and moans and groans after they only win 9 games this year.
Right. So, I'm tired of hearing this chip on the shoulder. He ain't got to have no chip on the shoulder, man. Go out there and play, but that's for another day, baby.
So whereas Josh here is taking Josh Allen, I'm going to go with the simple answer because it is the answer, and I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, so like I've said before, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And there has been nobody in the last 5 years except for Tom Brady and for Joe Burrow that has been able to beat this guy head to head.
Y'all heard it here, folks. I'm here first. Josh Allen.
So Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, everybody in the chat down below, and everyone watching all around the world, definitely give us your comments. Go on social media at Sports Angle on PR, or go to our inbox at thesportsangle.com. So as we are doing our 2023 NFL Awards predictions here on Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, I'm your host, Ian McKelly. We're here with Josh Bailey from Stay Tuned Live, which you can check out every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Now we have to get to the Offensive Player of the Year, or as I like to call it, the non-quarterback award. All right, essentially, this is the award that goes to the running back or goes to the receiver. And based off the odds, that's pretty apparent. As the odds-on favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year is Cincinnati Bengals receiver Ja'Marr Chase. He is currently 10-1 odds to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Wow.
And it does make a lot of sense, though. The last 2 years, Ja'Marr Chase has been a top 3 receiver in the NFL. I mean, he has been one of the best marquee guys in the NFL today.
I would think they put Jettas over him now, but
hopefully
it's right.
I'm glad you mentioned Jetta, because 13-1 coming in second place would be Justin Jefferson out there in Minnesota. Now, the only reason why I think people are having him lower is because the Minnesota Vikings are taking a step back this year, so there could be some regression in terms of stats with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though I think maybe you would disagree on that, because if they're a worse team, maybe they'll have to give it to him more.
True. But I don't want them as a Green Bay fan. I don't want them to have an Offensive Player of the Year type season. So there's that.
Hey, as a Chicago fan, I think the Vikings aren't going to matter anyway.
No. Yeah, Justin Jefferson gonna get his though, but we all seen it. Jair Alexander, clink.
Hey, the second best corner in the NFL. I've always put him at number 2.
I'll take it. Just play like it.
PS2 is number 1, by the way. And yes, Dennis, I will fight with you on that. And Czar, I will agree with you on that. Yes, it is PS2.
I'll take number 2.
That's Sertan out there in Denver.
I'll take number 2.
Now, third on the list, and once again, we're always using Caesar Sportsbook. That is, to me, the most accurate sportsbook we have here in Las Vegas. Christian McCaffrey out there in San Francisco. Shout out to Jay Will. He is 16-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. This will be his first full season playing in San Francisco. Hopefully he does well. I actually think he'll get a lot more usage in San Francisco because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean, since he's been in the league, he's been one of those dual threat running backs, catching the ball, running the ball. So, and in Shanahan's scheme, him and Debo, but I think he'll use CMC a little bit more because of his running ability. Yeah, Niners gonna be nasty with Christian McCaffrey.
It is going to be nasty indeed. They're probably going to have the best, if not one of the best records in the NFC this upcoming year. Speaking of, I'm going to hype this up real quick. Next week, we are going to do our official NFL season preview here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. This week is the awards. Next week is the preview show. And by the way, anyone who is anyone is invited. All right, it's a formal invitation. You want to come on the show next week, anybody can. Just want to hype that up real quick for everybody watching around the world. Our season preview will be next week.
Gotcha.
Now, fourth on the list is Nick Chubb out there in Cleveland. 18-1 odds to win Offensive Player of the Year. And I do find it really fascinating that he's probably going to be the only amount of talent that Cleveland has on that roster. Deshaun Watson, I don't believe that he's going to go back to being what he was. Amari Cooper, he's not going to be the receiver he once was. Elijah Moore, he really didn't do that well in New York. I don't expect him to do that well in Cleveland. He's the only person they have in terms of talent, and that's Nick Chubb. So, 18-1 odds. Maybe it could happen. We'll see. Top 5 offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus.
I hope it happens.
So,
I think he's the best running back in the league right now. He's my favorite running back in the league. So,
and then the only quarterback that is on the Offensive Player of the Year list, and that's at 20-1, Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens.
No, definitely. I can see that. If he stay healthy, I can see it. Because I think Josh Allen won like 2 years ago.
I don't think it was. Wait, was it Josh Allen or was it?
Oh, he won 3 years ago.
Was it Jonathan Taylor? I forget.
But I know Josh Allen won it. I thought he was going to win MVP, but he actually won Offensive Player of the Year. I think it was.
You know what? It was probably 2020. Now I think about it.
2020, it probably was.
Now I'm gonna have it start with you. Who do you have as Offensive Player of the Year heading into the 2023 season? I kind of broke down who the odds-on favorites have.
Yeah.
Heading
I'm gonna go with my favorite running back, and like I said, I think he's the best running back, especially on that team. Like you said, he's the only bona fide playmaker, and legit superstar on that team. Because I mean, Watson was, but we don't know what he's going to be this year. Hopefully, better. But Nick Chubb is always like he's top 3 to me. If you want to argue, but I think he's going to be offensive player. I'm hoping he is.
I will mention with Nick Chubb, it has been a long time, and I mean really a long time, since a Cleveland Brown has won Offensive Player of the Year. That has been over 40 years. So the last time
I ain't never been, it ain't been since I've been watching football.
No, it has not. And by the way, Jim Brown, still the greatest football player of all time. To me, he is the GOAT, and nobody will ever change my mind on that.
Right.
So Nick Chubb, 18-1 or plus 1,800 according to Caesar Sportsbook. So Josh, that is going to be your pick. You had Josh Allen for MVP, Nick Chubb for the Offensive Player of the Year. But for me, my answer, I'm going to be staying on the West Coast. Give me the running back out of San Francisco. I have Christian McCaffrey. Not only do I have him having over 1,000 yards in terms of receiving, but I think he'll have over 1,000 yards rushing as well. He's going to have over 2,000 all-purpose yards, and that will get Christian McCaffrey the Offensive Player of the Year in San Francisco. Once again, shout out to Jay Will. I know that would definitely make you happy hearing that Christian McCaffrey will be Offensive Player of the Year for your San Francisco 49ers.
Boo! Man, forget the Niners, man.
Hey, what's your problem with the 49ers? Let's talk about it.
Man, I live in the Bay Area. I'm a Green Bay fan, so that's enough right there. So, and I talk a lot of trash. So, hey, yeah, man, it's been bad since Brett Favre retired. It's been real bad being a Green Bay fan in the Bay Area. Because
the only reason why you're upset is because Aaron Rodgers keeps getting beat.
He can't get it done against the Niners in the playoffs. Like he can beat them during the season.
He cannot beat them.
So it's bad. So as much as trash I be talking to the Niner fans, and you know what I'm saying, back since Kaepernick, and he destroys us in the playoffs, and Garoppolo, we can't beat a Garoppolo-led 49ers team, and we have the MVP. Like, yeah, it's been real bad, man. So hopefully Jordan Love turns it around.
Hey, Jordan Love, I have a lot of praise on Jordan Love. I thought he was going to be a good quarterback coming out of Utah State. He, once again, a Mountain West Conference quarterback, by the way. And I've always mentioned, I actually did a piece on this here on Sports Angle, that the Mountain West Conference actually builds a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL. No one just likes to give them any amount of respect. So Utah State, Jordan Love, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's going to do well out there in Green Bay.
I hope you're right, man. I've been listening to you and Rashad, man. I'm hoping.
Yeah. So before we get to Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to very quickly recap what our awards have been so far. So your host, Ian Rickelli, I have Patrick Mahomes at plus 650.
You want the easy pick, man. You want the easy pick, man.
And then for Offensive Player of the Year, I went to San Fran. I went to the Bay Area, and Christian McCaffrey plus 1,600 for the Offensive Player of the Year. Whereas Josh Bailey, our guest here at this time, he has Josh Allen plus 750 for the NFL MVP, and then Offensive Player of the Year at plus 1,800. You have Nick Chubb from Cleveland, and it's definitely going to be fun to see who's right and who's wrong. And in fact, that's actually what we've done the last 4 seasons, Josh, is we actually will go back and look at what our predictions were and kind of see how right we were, how wrong we were. It's always been a fun time when we do that, but
right.
Yeah.
I hope my picks don't make me look like my shirt. You know what I mean? So, hey, come on.
Hey,
Josh
Dumbo's a great film, though. I'm going to point that out.
It's my favorite Disney movie. It ain't the best Disney movie, but it's my favorite Disney movie.
See, I'm younger, so my favorite is Cars, but that's because I went and saw it in cinema.
Right. So, see, I've never seen Cars.
Oh, I
I
highly
think
recommend it, man. I highly
I will,
recommend it.
and I think Lion King might be the best, but Dumbo's my favorite, and I don't want to look like one no picking Josh Allen, but we'll see.
Now, we are going to go to Defensive Player of the Year, and this is something that a lot of people are going to want to talk about, and I also have a lot of respect for one player that I have on here, and we're going to start out with the odds-on favorite, and that is going to be Micah Parsons out there with Dallas. He is plus 650 according to Caesar Sportsbook to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now he is going to be shifting positions. So he's going to be going more to an outsider kind of situation. But when it comes to Micah Parsons, what do you think about him? His first 2 years, he has been an all-pro. He has been one of the best linebackers in the NFL. But him switching over, I think that might actually make him better for Dallas.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, like putting him switching him and keeping him in that position is probably going to benefit him. He's already been lights out the first 2 seasons, so with him going back and forth, but keeping him in that position, yeah, it's definitely going to benefit him and Dallas. So he's definitely a reason why I know why he's number one. Been killing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I definitely understand that. And with him being once again plus 6-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year. Then the next guy you have was a former number 1 overall pick, the guy taken before Patrick Mahomes in 2017, and that's the guy who likes to launch helmets at people's heads, and that's Myles Garrett. And with Myles Garrett, he is plus 750 coming out of Cleveland. And unfortunately, he feels to be like in the same situation Nick Chubb is in on the offensive side. Like the defense in Cleveland is not the best. It's not terrible, but it's not the best defense in the AFC North. And Myles Garrett definitely makes it go from average to above average with how great he is.
Yeah.
So we have Myles Garrett.
I like Garrett.
We have a former Defensive Player of the Year winner in TJ Watt, who is 850 out there in Pittsburgh. Hopefully he can replicate what he did a few years ago. But unfortunately, Josh and I, we've watched football long enough. When you have a really dangerous injury like he had in the past, sometimes that does slow you down at times.
Right. So that's why I think he's going to be. Did he play last year? He didn't play the whole season though last year.
He didn't play the whole season. No, he did not.
Yeah, that's because I don't know if I can put him at Defensive Player of the Year, or you think he'd be a runner-up for a comeback?
I mean, I think that if he does incredibly well, he would kind of be around Comeback Player of the Year, excluding one player, because obviously if he's in the running, we already know who Comeback Player of the Year is. But that's besides the point.
Right. Yeah, I love TJ, you know what I mean? Because we could have got him, so I always followed him. I'm like, man, we could have had TJ Watt. But because I don't think, because of the injury, I'm probably going to go with Myles.
Continuing, I also will continue with the last two. You have San Francisco 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa, who is 12-1. Obviously, you would know a lot about him. He definitely put the sack on Aaron Rodgers a couple of times out there in the playoffs, so you know who he is.
Yeah, when it counted the most, yep.
And then the last one at 15-1, and the best corner on this list, and we're talking about Sauce Gardner out there at the New York Jets.
I like Sauce. He just got to do it again, man. Like he's a great rookie, but you got to do it more than 1 year. So that's the only thing about being a great rookie. You got to continue. So, like I said, I think I want to go TJ, but like those injuries, you know what I mean, catch up to you after a while. So I'm gonna go with Myles Garrett.
And with Myles Garrett, now I want to point this out to all the people watching around the world. Josh Bailey is not a Cleveland Browns fan, regardless of what this looks like.
Wow.
Regardless of what this looks like.
That's crazy.
You are not a Cleveland Browns fan. Yeah.
That's crazy. Hey, that's wild. I didn't realize that. Dang, Chubb. Who else I picked?
And you picked Myles Garrett,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Now, do you think they're going to have a good year, though? Because with them, because
they're good on paper. I think they're going to have a better year. They're good on paper.
Now, while everyone is kind of eating that up and kind of absorbing the fact that you have picked Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year, I want everyone to turn their radio up. I want everyone to make sure they're listening to this. because what I'm going to say here is going to surprise a lot of people.
Except
because
for me.
I'm going with
I already know.
I'm going with someone who's not in the top 5.
Yeah, I already know.
I'm going with somebody who's not an odds-on favorite. As a matter of fact, I'm going with somebody who's been getting better every single year in the NFL. He's been gradually, like a stepping ladder, he's gradually getting better. And my pick for Defensive Player of the Year from the Carolina Panthers, give me Brian Burns to win Defensive Player of the Year. I've been saying that if he gets 20 sacks, which considering he had 14 and a half last year, if Brian Burns continues that and even gets better next year, I say that Brian Burns, who is 30-1 odds according to Caesar Sportsbook, this is my long shot. This is my underdog pick. Brian Burns, 30-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's who I got.
Yeah, I got a dark horse, and it's going to be Jair Alexander. Other than that, let's go Myles Garrett. But I want TJ to win. But dang, my Brian Burns. Who? Ooh, Burn. They'll know this year. Burns is a dog.
Brian Burns, who? Hey, you know what? Cut that out. Just because you don't watch Carolina Panthers football, I want to do the disrespect there. No, we ain't doing that.
Yeah, Burns is a beast.
So, as we recap, before we get into the Rookie of the Year conversation, doing our NFL awards predictions here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian McKelly. We're here with Josh Bailey from Stay Tuned Live. Now, Josh, your MVP winner is Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, who is plus 750. Your Offensive Player of the Year is Nick Chubb, who's plus 1,800. And Defensive Player of the Year is plus 750, and that is Myles Garrett. Whereas your host, Ian Rickelli, I picked plus 650 Patrick Mahomes for the NFL MVP. Plus 1,600 Christian McCaffrey for Offensive Player of the Year. And so far, the biggest dark horse and the biggest underdog pick out of all of ours so far, Brian Burns, who is plus 3,000, according to Caesar Sportsbook, to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now, we are going to get into Offensive Rookie of the Year. And there are some good rookies that are coming into this class. All right, I have to give credit where credit is due. There's going to be some good guys here. However, I'm really surprised that one player is being booked as the odds-on favorite here. Because according to Caesar Sportsbook, Bijan Robinson is 300 or 3-1 odds to win Rookie of the Year. He was taken 7th overall by the Atlanta Falcons, the best running back coming out of this draft from University of Texas. Now, him being the highest paid running back in the NFL without even playing a snap, do you think that has to kind of contribute to the fact that he is the odds-on favorite right now, according to Caesar Sportsbook?
Of course, yeah, because that to me, that's saying that Atlanta's going to play him like crazy. You know what I mean? He's going to probably get the most snaps out of a rookie. Like, yeah, it's going to be crazy over there in Atlanta how much they use him. His usage rate is going to be up there.
Now, do you agree with that, though?
No.
Like, as a football fan, do you agree that somebody who hasn't even played a down yet should be the highest paid at his position?
No, I mean, I think that's why they play the career at that rookie pay scale, you know what I mean? Because of that reason. So, no. Yeah. They just paying him off potential like they always do.
And as much as I like Robinson, there is actually a running back that I actually like more, and I believe has more potential upside, but we'll talk about him later. But when it comes to Robinson, I wish him well in Atlanta. This is somebody that I have a lot of respect for. Shout out to Ron Thomas, by the way. Hopefully your team does better than 7-10. I am rooting for you. But when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, we'll see how they do with Bijan Robinson, who is 300, who is 3-1 odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, second is the first overall pick, the guy who came out of Alabama, and that is Carolina Panthers quarterback Bryce Young, who is 4-1 and or plus 400 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, it's expected for the number 1 overall pick to have some hype around him heading into the beginning of the year. But with Bryce Young, do you expect a lot out of him in year 1, or is it going to be kind of like baby steps? Hey, look, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make some rookie mistakes, but shrug it off, and we're going to use this year as kind of a test run. Year 2 is where we want to see how you progress.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have pressure on him because he's the number one pick. So, but you have to look at that team. That team is not that good. That's the reason why he's the number one pick. So, I think it should be baby steps. But two, he was picked number one for a reason. So, but he's gonna have some downfall. You know what I'm saying? It's the ups and downs for being on that team. So, hopefully, it's baby steps.
So I'm only going to mention this because somebody also put this in a chat a long time ago. If Carolina does win the division, if he was able to do what Cam Newton was not able to do, which is take a first overall pick and go from worst to first, per se, how
Mhm.
great would that be for Bryce Young in terms of resume? Because it has been this long since a number one overall pick won a division, and that was Andrew Luck back in 2012 when he won the AFC
Ooh,
South with the Indianapolis Colts.
it
So
has been that long.
it has been that long, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna say a lot. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because that division is just so wide open. So it's definitely possible that he could go in there and take over that division this first year. I wouldn't be surprised. That division's trash, man.
Yeah, you say it's trash. I actually think it's worse than trash. You're actually putting it nicely.
Right.
So, as we are talking about offensive rookie of the year and going over the odds according to Caesar Sportsbook, Bijan Robinson 3-1 odds coming from Atlanta. You have Bryce Young 4-1 out there in Carolina. Anthony Richardson AR-15 out there in Indianapolis. He is 9-1 to win out there in Indianapolis. And with AR-15, there's a lot of questions about will Gardner Minshew start out the year, and then will he become the starting quarterback, or will they have him start right away? Week 1, he will be their guy from start to finish. What do you say, Josh? Is he going to be a guy sitting behind holding the clipboard for a while, or is he going to get tossed in and like, hey, good luck, kid?
And I think they're gonna treat him like they treated the last couple quarterbacks that was first round picks in Manning and Andrew Luck. They're gonna throw him out there to the wolves. So hopefully this time I think they got a better offensive line than they had with Luck. So he definitely be protected like that. But weapon wise, since he don't have that much, but saw some clips of him play, and he's a great athlete. So hopefully that gets him through his first season. I
Yeah,
think he'll
once
be all
again,
right.
that is Anthony Richardson plus 650 to win offensive rookie of the year.
Oh yeah, I
And
don't see
then
it though.
you have Houston Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. He is 700 or 7-1 to win an offensive rookie of the year. Now, Houston does have some upside. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They brought in some very valuable members to get with CJ. But do you think CJ is also going to have some struggles as well? Because Houston Texans, this last couple of years, have kind of been tearing everything down, rebuilding that team up from scratch. And they brought in a defensive-minded coach in D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, I think they're gonna struggle this year for sure. To me, but that's not a bad thing. They're just a young team. You know what I'm saying? That's rebuilding though. But I think out of the teams we named, the young teams we named, and Colts and Atlanta, I think Houston has a better upside than those two teams. So they might have a worse record than those two teams we just named, but I think their future with that quarterback and with the coach now, yeah, they're gonna make some noise pretty soon.
So on draft day, they always have these comparisons, right? They always go like, what's the guy's potential? What's his ceiling? And I noticed that a lot of experts had for CJ that he was going to be an average starting quarterback. He was going to be a franchise quarterback, but he was going to be average. And I looked at that and went, you know what? Even if you're an average starting quarterback in the NFL, look at Derek Carr, look at Kirk Cousins, for example. You can last a full decade in the NFL and still make about $200 million.
Right.
So
Yeah.
being an average quarterback isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. They get paid, like you just mentioned. Kirk Cousins has been getting paid to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Keep him in the running for like half the season and then fall off.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you've seen it.
And Bryce Young, by the way, was MVP candidate. That was his ceiling, was being an MVP candidate.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So hopefully that turns out for him. Hopefully I didn't, set him up to fail with that expectation.
So no Cleveland Browns that I could pick from. So I won't pick no Cleveland Browns this time.
Absolutely not. But the last two, is 7-1 or plus 700. Jahmyr Gibbs from Detroit, the Alabama running back. He will be in our division playing in Detroit. And one of my fan favorites, and arguably the best receiver out of this draft, and that is Jackson Smith-Njigba in Seattle, who's plus 900.
Yeah, I can see him definitely making some noise.
So let's get into our predictions. And by the way, when it comes to JSN, he had that wicked one-handed catch in training camp, already kind of showing people what he can do in Seattle. But it is time for our Offensive Rookie of the Year predictions. Josh, of course, you will go first. Who do you have winning Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2023?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with the Panthers. The Panthers rookie, man. I'm going to give them some love, man, because I don't know if they're going to win that division. They have a good chance, though, but us talking right now about it, I want him to win. Let's go, CJ.
All right, so you are going to go with the quarterback from Carolina. You will go with Bryce Young, and yeah, when it comes to having number 1 overall pick, it's not expected, but it is pretty much a conclusion that you should be the Offensive Rookie of the Year if you go first overall.
But I was hearing CJ was, because wasn't he supposed to be the number 1, right?
Well, he was supposed to be the number 1 for a while, and then Bryce Young kind of came up and took it. Yeah. And he went number 2, CJ went 2, Bryce went 1. But yeah, when it comes to CJ, when it comes to Bryce, so your winner for Offensive Rookie of the Year is Bryce Young, who is plus 400. According to Caesar Sportsbook, I'm actually going to go a little bit down on the list, and I'm going to go with the best running back to come out of this draft, and that is Gibbs out of Detroit. I like what Gibbs can do. He's a high-powered back. He's somebody who can really do a lot of good things in the NFL. And with how Detroit has a top 5 offensive line, I'm factoring that in as well. So, so Atlanta has a good offensive line. Detroit has a good offensive line. I like Detroit has more upside. So give me Detroit here.
Yeah, I can see that happening, man. I don't want it to, but I definitely can see it.
You being a Green Bay Packers fan, I understand why you wouldn't want Gibbs to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But if you put up over 1,000 yards, if you have 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns at the end of the year, yeah, they're definitely going to give you Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Hopefully our defense has something to say about that.
Hey, what about my defense, man? Hey, what about some love for the Chicago Bears?
Come on. Ain't no love? What? Come on, man. You're not doing that.
Man, I thought
they can run all over y'all as far as I care. They can run all over y'all.
The disrespect from Josh Bailey on Stay Tuned Live. Hey, of course, you can watch him every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And I will
run all over them boys.
You know what? When you win that division and lose in the wild card round, but Hey,
that's a win for us though. If we get that far, that's a win. I'll take it, man.
Watch it be the 49ers again, though. Even without Aaron Rodgers.
They always find a way, man. I always said they always find a way, man. We always find a way to lose. It's crazy. They find a way to lose, but they beat us on the way. But
yeah, so for some reason, Dallas and Green Bay, you can't beat San Francisco. But San Francisco, for some weird reason, couldn't beat Seattle when it mattered the most.
It's weird how that stuff happens, man. It's weird. Sports is weird.
But anyway, let's get back to the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Of course, we talked about the offense. Now it's time to get over to the defensive side. And I've also noticed this from a fan perspective. The attention on defense isn't as much as the offense. Like, I've always noticed that unless it's, a number 1 overall pick or a top 2 pick, you don't really see a lot of hype around defensive players. Why do you think that is?
Because it's offense, man. People just want to see offense. So, I mean, defensive players get some love, but not nearly because offense is flashy now. Let's get them points. That's all fans really want to see. It's just points, and that's offensive players do that. So, it's flashy.
Yeah. By the way, Raiders fans, I see you on Twitter. Someone said, where do you have your Aiden O'Connell in Offensive Rookie of the Year odds? He's actually 50-1. So
right where the Raiders is, 50-1.
See, Josh, this is why you can't be here in Las Vegas. That's why you can't be in the sports entertainment capital of the world.
You got to keep it real though, man. Like, hey, Vegas is a great city. You got to keep it real though, Vegas. Y'all know them.
See, you saved yourself there by saying it's a great city. Yeah, so there you go. Got the people back on your side, saying it's a great city. Of course, it's my home, my people. So.
Hey, I'm coming out there next year, man. I'm really coming out there next year. So.
And I have somebody telling me to stay focused and keep it on track. So let's go. All right. Defensive Rookie of the Year. And Will Anderson Jr. from the Houston Texans, the guy the Texans mortgaged their future and traded up with the Cardinals to get him with a top 5 pick. He is the odds-on favorite according to Caesar Sportsbook. He is 5-1. And do you think that was a risky move by Houston to pretty much leverage not just this year, but next year's picks to go get Will Anderson and try to make him the next J.J. Watt, to try to have him be the next face of the defense out there in Houston?
Nah, if they really believe in him, why not get him? Because he got a good chance of being that guy. And he has a chance of not being that guy. But if you really think that that's the guy, hey, go get it. And we'll see though. But I don't blame him. If you want to go get him.
I will say for the Houston Texans though, if there was any team that definitely needed someone like DeMeco Ryans, it was the Houston Texans. Him being a former Eagles linebacker, him being a former Texans linebacker. Then him going to San Francisco, kind of learning under the Kyle Shanahan model out there in San Francisco. I will say for Will Anderson, if there is a better place for him to go, I really can't think of any more. Like there's like 4 or 5 over Houston, but I think Houston would probably be top 10 in terms of places you could go. So I will say defensive-wise, Will Anderson, that was a good move there.
All right. And DeMeco Ryans, I'll give him more the benefit of the doubt than a lot of these coaches, so. You know what he wants.
And we have to give a huge shout out to our friend Dennis Holmes out there in Talk Your Ish Tuesday, because his defensive tackle out there at the Philadelphia Bulldogs, out there at the Georgia Eagles, of course, I'm talking about Jalen Carter, the guy who they traded with the Chicago Bears, might I add, to go up and get Jalen Carter. He is 5-1. He is plus 500 according to Caesar Sportsbook. Now, is it surprising to you that Jalen Carter is ranked that high, considering he actually wasn't one of the top defensive players taken? I think he was the 3rd taken out of the entire draft. Have it surprising you?
No, because I think he dropped because of his off-the-field issues. So if he didn't have the off-the-field issues, he definitely probably would have been the top defensive player taken. So, nah, I'm not surprised.
Now, we have seen in the past how great defensive players have done in Philadelphia. Look, we all know about Reggie White. He's a top 5 player all time. Reggie White, one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game.
Yes,
but they've had Javon Curse. They've also had some really good players out there in Philadelphia during that time period. But I will say with Jalen Carter, hopefully he can live up to the hype that he had coming out of Georgia. Obviously, you would know about that since you are a Georgia Bulldogs fan. But when it comes to Jalen Carter, him being plus 500 out there in Philadelphia, he is 2nd on the list.
Plus
Third on the list is a guy taken above him in the draft. It was taken by your Las Vegas Raiders, so everyone watching around here in Las Vegas, the sports entertainment capital of the world, and that is Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. He is plus 650 according to Caesar Sportsbook. Now, I'm not going to say this, Josh, just because I live here. Just because I've seen the training camp footage, because I'm being able to see what's going on in real time. But this guy looks like he's legit. Like he seems like somebody who actually could be a good player here in the NFL. So the Las Vegas Raiders might gotten a 1-2 punch in Max Crosby on the left-hand side, Tyree Wilson on the right-hand side.
Yeah, no, I didn't know he was that high though, but just thinking about that with Crosby on the other side, and yeah, as much as attention Crosby going to get, yeah, he can do some damage on the other side.
Yeah, that's going to leave him. That's going to leave him exposed because everyone's going to be double teaming Crosby, and Wilson's going to come around from the other side like, "Hi."
Yeah, and he got picked. He was a beast. So I mean, he is. Yeah. So if it translates to the NFL, yeah, you're not going to be able to just put all your attention on Crosby and leave him one-on-one with your tackle. You're going to have to give him some help over there. So hey, I might that changed my. Yeah, okay, I like that.
Yeah, regardless if he's an edge rusher, if he's an outside linebacker, regardless of where they put him on the field, I think he will still be a high impact player out here in Vegas. one of my favorites that came out of the draft anyway.
Yeah.
Now, the next player on this list is somebody that I actually am a fan of as well. He's playing for the Seattle Seahawks, the former University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, and that's Devon Witherspoon. Now, he was the highest touted defensive back coming into the draft, being taken by Seattle 5th overall. Now, what do you think about him? Cornerbacks really don't win that often. Marshawn Lattimore, Sauce Gardner, those kind of the rare exceptions. But for a defensive back, you pretty much have to be near perfect as a rookie to win that award. So what do you think about Devon Witherspoon out there in Seattle? He's someone I actually have a lot of praise for coming out of Seattle.
He's going to probably one of the best coaches to in Seattle for that position. You know what I mean? As a defensive back, you probably would really want to play with Carroll. So I think he's really going to flourish in that system. So that's a good pickup.
And a lot of people are forgetting, and I only have to mention this because my family is in Seattle, so I'm very knowledgeable about the Seahawks. You have Tyreek Woolen on the other side, too. And he became one of the best corners in the league last year. So you have Tyreek Woolen on the left side. You have Witherspoon on the right. Jamal Adams is still there at free safety. And you have Keandre Diggs at strong safety. So I'm not implying the Legion of Boom are back or anything, but that's a pretty good secondary.
No, it is. Yeah, like I said, and they got the coaching. Yeah, look out. Hopefully they take over that division, man. We'll talk about it another day, though, but Seattle, watch out for them.
And then the last one we have on here, and he is actually 10-1, and that's your guy. And that's Lucas Van Ness out there with the Green Bay Packers. Now, obviously, you would know a lot more about him, but what do you think about Lucas Van Ness coming out of Iowa? He's a solid defensive end, outside linebacker kind of guy. Right. He's going to be a good impact player for you.
He's a big, powerful dude, man. I was watching some clips of him, last couple days, and he's finally working with the ones because in training camp or whatever, our OTAs, he was working with the 2s and 3s. Now he's actually working with the ones, and he got some power and he got some burst to him. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm not getting too high on him because of this training camp or whatever, but he's looking nice. So I like him. He's a strong kid though. Strong.
Now, we have gotten to that point where we have given everybody who the odds-on favorites are when it comes to each of the awards. We've given you a top 5. Now, Josh, who is your pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year? Who is your pick as a winner?
I ain't going to go Homer because I was going to pick LVN, though. But,
go on. Do it. Come on.
Well, I'll do it then because I was going to go with the Vegas boy, the Vegas kid, but I'll go with Lucas.
Hey, go with your first choice, man. I always tell people.
Right, I heard it. I was trying to go. I was trying to give y'all some love, Vegas, but yeah, your man's Ian over here. You know what I mean? Like, I go with my boy Lucas Van Ness.
So Lucas Van Ness. So plus 1,000 according to Cedar Sportsbook. That will be Josh's Defensive Rookie of the Year winner. And I will say, when it comes to Cedar Sportsbook, I hope that they are actually right about this one because my Defensive Rookie of the Year winner is not on the top 5 as well as what I did for Brian Burns. My pick is actually going to be going down to New England and talking about the biggest steal in round 1. And I'm actually going with Christian Gonzalez coming out of University of Oregon. I mean, this is a guy who was really explosive, a good, solid hands. He's someone who's good when it comes to route running and technique. So I will say Christian Gonzalez coming out of Oregon. Me being a University of Utah fan, I got to see him a lot playing against Oregon. So I think he has the talent to transition to the NFL. So Christian Gonzalez, he's my pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
They said he was a steal. They said he was a steal.
Like, I want you to think about it. He was projected to go 5 or 6, right?
Right.
He went 17th overall. That's a steal right there.
Big time.
And of course, it had to be New England, by the way. I mentioned this off the air. We were doing a Zoom one time, and I mentioned to one of our friends that watch New England somehow get Marvin Harrison Jr. Watch the Patriots and Bill Belichick find a way to get the most talented receiver prospect we have seen in the last decade.
Right.
Just watch.
I
It's
would
going to be New England.
Right. That'd be crazy though.
Or if Caleb Williams is as touted as he says he is, and as a lot of people say he is, watch the Patriots find a way to get him either.
To snatch him too, huh? Right.
Because the Patriots, if there's always one team that knows how to make things work, of course, it is the New England Patriots.
Yeah. Crazy.
Now, for the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award, I felt like this was kind of unnecessary to kind of put up a graphic because let's be honest, if there is somebody who's eligible to win it, it doesn't matter if he plays a game, doesn't matter if he plays a down. I mean, all he has to do is step on the field in uniform. He will win Comeback Player of the Year. And, of course, that's Damar Hamlin out there in Buffalo. So if he's eligible, the obvious pick and the no-duh pick is Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, I can see that. I wouldn't be mad at it either. So
now I will say if he is not on the ballot, if for some reason he takes himself out of it, or if he just decides that I'm going to pass it over to somebody else, I don't want to have the award. Who would be that pick for you, Josh? Like, who would actually be someone you would say has potential to be Comeback Player of the Year?
If Lamar missed enough games, I can see Lamar getting it. But if not, I want TJ Watt to win. If TJ Watt missed enough game where they could be like, all right, yeah, he's a candidate for this, I want TJ Watt to win it.
Now, I'm only mentioning this because of how bad his season was last year, but he now has Sean Payton. He no longer has Nathaniel Hackett, one of the worst coaches in NFL history, as his head coach.
Right.
I'm going to say this right here, right now. If Damar Hamlin decides to not accept the award and it goes to somebody else, I have Russell Wilson, after he leads the Broncos to a playoff spot, winning Comeback Player of the Year.
No, he can't get any better. Yeah, he better. Hey, I can see it. He should win it. He definitely should win.
To a playoff spot, he should win Comeback Player of the Year.
He definitely should win. If not, I could see Cooper Kupp too, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Kupp.
Wait, didn't he already get injured?
For real?
Yeah, I think he already got injured again.
Dang.
I played fantasy football. I remember I played fantasy football, and there was a question Q by his name, and I'm just like, ugh.
Oh man, I didn't even know that. So I don't want the quarterback to win it. Well, no, I ain't gonna lie. If Stafford won it, that means Niners got some trouble. So
look, Matthew Stafford's a nice story, but look, he won that Super Bowl, and I won't be surprised if in a year or two we announce his retirement. I won't be surprised by it.
Right, I can see that.
And the last one we are going to talk about is Coach of the Year. Now, this one isn't flashy. This isn't what a lot of people want to talk about, but we have to talk about it for argument's sake. When it comes to Coach of the Year, Detroit Lions Dan Campbell is the odds-on favorite heading into the year. He is plus 850. Now, this is kind of a mini rant I have here. Look, I have nothing against Dan Quinn. He's a very nice guy. He seems like an energetic guy. He seems like he woke up and he didn't have to drink any Red Bull. He already has all the energy inside of him. Look, when it comes to Dan Campbell, I respect him. But can we stop hyping up the Detroit Lions, please? Can we stop hyping up this team that has done absolutely nothing as the last 5 years?
Thank you. Like, he's a good guy, but they haven't done anything. Like, come on, man. Y'all getting moral victories? Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've seen a more overrated team heading into the year than the Detroit Lions. Like, this fan base is acting like they've already won the division. Like, we don't got to step on the field. We don't got to put the pads on. We already won this division. So, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't like it. And I will say, as a Bears fan, with you being a Packers fan, we need to stop overhyping the Detroit Lions for doing nothing as of yet.
They that bad to where you give these moral victories. Oh, they won 7 out of last whatever. They still missed the playoffs. Like, come on, man. They didn't do anything.
Now, second on the list is Sean Payton out there in Denver. He is plus 900. Now, this one does make sense. All right, I will give credit where credit is due. He's coming back. He's the highest paid coach in the NFL. Denver gave him the bag to come out of retirement. It makes sense. But if the Denver Broncos just make the playoffs, are we just going to assume that he's going to be Brian Dable and they're just going to give him Coach of the Year? Like,
Nah.
really?
No. I don't think so. I mean, because he has a Hall of Famer quarterback, so Russell Wilson should definitely have a better season. So we'll see.
Now, my coach, Matt Eberflus, who is the former Cowboys assistant, now Chicago Bears head coach, he is 11-1 to win Coach of the Year.
I didn't know who y'all had. That's his name? I never heard of him. I've never heard of him.
No, he was the linebackers coach for the Cowboys before the Bears made him the head coach. Now,
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about my head coaches. Like, they're always the random guys. Like, we brought in a Canadian football coach to be our head coach after Lovie Smith, because of course we did.
That was Scar. What, Trestman?
Trestman, yeah. And then John Fox, we brought him over after Carolina when he was like 5 years past his prime. We brought John Fox over.
Right.
But anyway, let's stop talking about bad coaches. Let's get back to Eberflus.
Yeah.
When it comes to Chicago Bears, I like what they have, but this is probably going to be a 7-10 team. I mean, this is going to be 6-11 for the Bears. They're going to make some progress for sure, but I don't think he'll be Coach of the Year. Like, if they don't have a winning record, he's not going to be in discussion.
No, I don't think so either.
Your coach, by the way, he is also on the list, Matt LaFleur. He is 15-1 to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, because they want to see what he could do without Aaron Rodgers. So I want to too. So
and
see about that, man, because a lot of people give Aaron Rodgers praise, and as you know, what I'm saying, he won MVP. So yeah, so let's see what Matt LaFleur could do without.
Yeah, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers in just a second, and then of course you have Arthur Smith from the Atlanta Falcons, 14-1. There's a lot of people who are kind of high on Atlanta. Top 2 offensive line, solid defense. And that offense has gotten a little bit better. We have to worry about Desmond Ridder, when it comes to the quarterback situation. But Josh, who would be your pick for Coach of the Year at the beginning of the season? Like I mentioned before, Dan Campbell's the odds-on favorite, Sean Payton's second. But who would be your pick to win Coach of the Year?
I've been saying it all. I mean, I don't want it to happen, but as a realist, and I like him as a coach. But he don't have a quarterback right now, and I still say it could be Shanahan. If he finds some way to get to the playoffs and win some games in the playoffs with the people he got on roster, Purdy, I'm not a believer in Purdy, Lance, or Darnold. And if he finds a way to win that division or get in the playoffs and win a game, man, Shanahan definitely, to me, should be up there because of that quarterback situation.
According to Caesar Sportsbook, Kyle Shanahan is 30-1 to win Coach of the Year. So, hey, Josh, just like with the pick I made with Brian Burns, hey, why don't you go to Caesar Sportsbook, download the app, and why don't you place a little bet down on that? 30-1 odds, Kyle Shanahan.
I might have to. Hey, Rashad in Vegas right now. I should tell him to put some money on it.
Oh man, I gotta text him about something later. But anyway,
yeah.
And my pick, by the way, and he is 25-1 to win Coach of the Year. I'm going to go with the guy who is out there in Carolina, the guy they just hired as their head coach. Give me Frank Reich. I think he is going to be an excellent coach. I actually like what he did in Indianapolis. He just got thrown under the bus by Jim Irsay. And I think that he is an excellent coach. I obviously have a lot of respect for what he did in Philadelphia as an offensive coordinator. Now him going to be in Carolina. I like the potential. So give me him. 25-1 is going to be Frank Reich out there in Carolina.
Gotcha.
So let's recap the NFL awards predictions here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We're here with Josh Bailey from Stay Tuned Live. Now, Josh's picks, his ballot. For NFL MVP, he is taking Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills. Offensive player
that first name got a ring to it.
Offensive player of the year, you are going with Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb, who is 18-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. Obviously, you're playing and staying in Cleveland, Ohio, because NFL Defensive Player of the Year, you go with the guy who's plus 750, and that is Myles Garrett, the former number 1 overall pick.
I know Sharon ain't gonna like me for that.
No. And for Offensive Rookie of the Year, of course, you took your jet and you flew down to Charlotte. And, of course, Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick, who is 4-1 odds to win Rookie of the Year. He is going to be your pick to win. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, you're going to go to Lambeau. You're going to go to the best stadium in all of football, and that is Lucas Van Ness, the defensive end from Iowa, who is 10-1 to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
LVN, baby.
And for Comeback Player of the Year, you have Damar Hamlin, except if he is not going to win it, you have TJ Watt instead.
Yes, sir.
And rounding out for Coach of the Year at 30-1, you have San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh, I still got him, man.
Hey, you're always going to boo San Francisco. You're out there in the Bay Area. Hey, man, I got you.
Yeah, man.
Now,
it's hard out
ballot,
here.
Yeah, I will say my ballot for my NFL awards. For NFL MVP, I have Patrick Mahomes plus 650, the best quarterback in the NFL, the best player in the world right now, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go to the Bay Area. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey, who is 16-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, I am going with the underdog. This is actually going to be my surprise pick, and that is Brian Burns from Carolina. 30-1 odds to win Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year at 7-1. I'm taking the Alabama running back now in Detroit, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Oregon defensive back Christian Gonzalez, who is 10-1 odds. He is going to be playing for Bill Belichick out there in New England. For Comeback Player of the Year, if it is not Damar Hamlin, I have quarterback from the Denver Broncos in Russell Wilson winning Comeback Player of the Year. And for Coach of the Year at 25-1, give me Frank Reich as your Coach of the Year out there in Carolina, 25-1. So as we did our NFL awards, Josh, I mean, I think you're pretty confident in your picks. I obviously am confident in mine. But yeah, this should definitely be a fun season to see what we got right and what we got wrong.
Yes, sir. Hey, Sharon, I picked your boy.
He did. He most definitely did. And Dallas, I actually took your guy as Defensive Player of the Year. So always keep out for that. Now, when it comes to the NFC North, obviously our teams are in that division. So we really need to break down the NFC North, really talk about this division. And let's start out with the Minnesota Vikings, a team that I really don't care much about, a team I really don't think you care that much about, but they have a lot of turnaround this year. They have sold off a lot of parts, have sent it to other teams. And I'm not saying they're doing a complete rebuild, Josh, but I think they're starting the process of a rebuild. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah. The final piece that confirmed it was getting rid of the Dalvin Cook. So that was like, that really confirmed it to me. Like they looking to rebuild. Or are they starting the process, like you said?
And they have a guy who I think is the definition of okay as quarterback. Like, he's not great. He's not good. He's not really average, but he's not bad either. He's just kind of there. And that's Kirk Cousins.
There, yeah.
Like, Kirk Cousins to me is like one of those quarterbacks. I've always said there's about 7 or 8 of them in the NFL. Like, they just exist. Like, they are just there.
Right.
And
he has talent around him, so of course he looks good. He has talent.
I mean, everyone always does these rankings, right? And I've always had Kirk Cousins around top 15 because that's really where he is. Like, he's just an above average quarterback. That's the nicest way I can put it. So he's just above average.
Weapons. We got Justin Jefferson. He should be able to do something, man.
Right. Like, to me, for a lot of years, I said that was Derek Carr. Like, here in Las Vegas, I always said, look, he's a franchise quarterback. he's above average. You know, he's not somebody that's going to wow you,
Yeah.
but he's somebody who'll get you 7 or 8 wins.
Right. He'll have games here and there where you like, man, that boy nice. You know what I mean? But when it come down to it, when you see his career, just pull up the tape and just look at him from season to season. He's not that guy.
And by the way, since we have a friend who actually likes this team, look, Adam, I know you like Tua, but I've said the same thing about him. To me, he's above average. You know, with him having all his injuries, obviously knocks him down a little bit, but I think he's above average too. You know, he'll be in the NFL for a couple of years until he gets that one hit that he just can't recover from. But hopefully that doesn't happen now. So, but back to the NFC North, Kirk Cousins. Is this going to be his last year in Minnesota? Is this going to be the last year we see him wearing that ridiculous purple out there in Minnesota?
I wouldn't mind seeing him more because he's just not that guy. But I think they're gonna spend their money somewhere else because as of like you said, Dalvin Cook is gone. So, hey, what's the point of keeping him when they know he only could get them to a certain point and he's gonna fall off? So, I think they'll spend their money somewhere else. So, yeah, it's probably gonna be his last season.
Well, I do have a good up and coming running back in Alexander Mattison. So, anybody who's a fantasy football owner, you know who Mattison is. So, a lot of people were saying the reason why they got rid of Dalvin Cook is because they had a cheaper version of him in Mattison.
Like Cook's, he was always hurt, but it seemed that one game, like he always played against us, man. It's like, and he would torch us, you know what I mean? Dalvin Cook was a good back. When he's healthy, he's a top back.
Oh, you just mean like Devontae Adams? Like he made it personal against the Bears every single time? Like Gabe Bathian tried to knock his head off that one time, and apparently he made it personal for the rest of his career. Anytime he took on the Bears.
Right. Yeah. Hey, that's what it seemed like. It seemed like, man, that boy would be hurt for like a 3 or 4 game stretch. That 5th game, Packers, and he played and torched us, man. Like shredded us. It's crazy.
Now, I will give credit where credit is due. When it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, their receiving core is actually the best part of their team. You have Jefferson, you have Osborne, they brought over TJ Hawkinson, and they drafted Jordan Addison. So the Minnesota Vikings do have potential as receivers.
Yeah, I'll be forgetting about Hawkinson because, like they do got Hawkinson. Like that's what I'm saying. Kirk Cousins got weapons, man, and he still be blowing it, man. So,
I mean, if they booked him in primetime games, the Vikings would go 0-17.
Right, and they're not going to duplicate that. I think Rashad told me there was 11-1 in 3 points or less last season, so I don't think that's going to happen.
And I think I remember correctly, they were 12-2 when leading in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, but they ain't going to be leading in the 4th quarter. See, none of that's it's not going to duplicate to the next season, so it's just not.
So for the Minnesota Vikings, the defense, that is abysmal. Smith is gone. Hunter, they had to extend him because he wanted to leave. I mean, outside of Harrison Smith and Daniel Hunter, I really don't think there's anybody on that team you would say, wow, that guy plays for the Vikings.
Right. I'm glad Za'Darius, even though Za'Darius, he fell off during the end of the year, he's a good player, and I'm glad that they got rid of him. So.
Wait, where'd he go, actually? Did he go to the Ravens? Where'd he go?
He went to my team that I've been talking about, the Browns. So I should have said him as Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, he went to the Browns.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Browns on paper, man. Watch out.
Well, keep in mind, you could look great on paper. Then you got to put the pads on.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's why
you can look good on paper, but then you got to put that helmet on your head. So
they usually, a lot of times, they look good on paper. So, but
don't forget about 2019 though. As anybody who's a Browns fan, you know what 2019 was. It was that super team, Sports Illustrated. Oh, you got Odell, you got Kareem Hunt, you have Baker Mayfield. Oh man, this is gonna be the greatest team. And I think they went 5-11, 6-10 or
Trash. Yeah, they was garbage. So
for the record,
I'm glad Za'Darius.
I will say for the record, by the way, anytime there's a super team labeled in the NFL, just know you're going to go 8-8 or 7-10.
Right.
Like anytime you're a super team, just know that they're setting you up for failure.
Yeah, it's not going to be good in the NFL. It's different. That dream team stuff in the NFL, and yeah, it doesn't really work. It doesn't usually work.
Hey, New York Jets. Hey, they've been calling you a super team for a while now. With them having Aaron Rodgers and all that talent.
Right. It just looked
keep
like,
in mind what I
on
said
paper, they
20
look
seconds ago.
good. They look good.
Yeah. Just
They
keep in
sound
mind what I
good.
said 20 seconds ago about what happens to a super team or a so-called super team.
Yeah, it's in that Cinderella stage, man.
So, obviously, our
when the L's start piling up, they'll be all right. When the L's start piling up.
Yeah. Now, obviously, our prediction show is going to be next week here on Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. Everyone is formally invited to that show. But when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, I have them being dead last in this division. I actually don't think a lot of these analysts are not. A lot of these analysts have the Vikings finishing second in the division, and I don't understand why they're finishing second
Real
in
high.
the
I
division.
don't understand either. Yeah.
Like, I think the last analyst I saw talk about this, I remember correctly, they had how do they have it worded? So essentially what it was, they had Kirk Cousins, they had Jordan Love, you had Justin Fields, and you had Jared Goff, right? I think that's the four quarterbacks: Fields, Goff, Cousins, and Love. And they were all talking about, all right, this guy's going to do great here. This guy's going to do fantastic here. And if I remember correctly, they had Detroit in first because everyone now has Detroit as the odds-on favorite to win the division. They had Minnesota in second. They had the Bears third, and then they had the Packers in last. And I remember listening to NFL Network, and I'm just going, okay, so for some reason, the Vikings lost half the starting lineup, but yet they're going to finish second.
Make it make sense. That's all
Make
I'm
it
trying
make
to say.
sense.
Make it make sense.
And the team they have last, according to NFL Network, is your Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm going to explain this in the best way I can because obviously you being a Packers fan, you're just going to show some bias. So let me be a Bears fan and be unbiased for a minute. Your team is a lot better than what NFL Network says you are. Like, your team is a lot better than some of these so-called analysts are saying you are. Like, you're getting a lot of disrespect in Green Bay. You truly are.
We are. That's why I don't have, like, if you hear, you know what I'm saying, Rashad and other people, Rashad he's really big, and you're really big on Jordan Love. I never really saw him play until last year when he came in a little bit, and against KC a couple years ago, I think, or another year. So my thing is he's going to have his ups and downs. So I don't really have no expectations on Jordan Love. I just want to see him grow. You know what I mean? So I really don't put that much expectations on us or Jordan Love or the team. But since that the division is wide open, we have a chance to either get in a wild card or win in the division. But I put more pressure on our running backs. You know what I mean? Like, they should hit the ground running. Our defense, we got the best defense in the league, but we haven't shown it really to like the last couple seasons. So we got 8 first rounders on that team. Joe Barry, you got to make something work. That defense should be coming into the season as a top defense. You know what I mean? But as far as us, I'm hoping Jordan Love, he's going to have them wild moments, and he's like, man, come on, man. So he's going to have a short learning curve though, because he's been sitting for 3 years. So we definitely still have a chance.
And with A.J. Dillon and with Aaron Jones, I mean, I think that's actually one of the best 1-2 combos in the NFL. I mean, Green Bay Packers have done really well at the running back position over the last decade. A lot of people forget that Eddie Lacy was Offensive Rookie of the Year before he started eating 38 cheeseburgers and started eating 85 cheesesteaks. So I will say when it comes to Eddie Lacy, when he was able to maintain that weight, he actually was a great running back for your Green Bay Packers. I remember that vividly. So I will say
that's his style too.
That was his style too. Yeah, he was a ground and pound type of guy. You know, get off of me. You know, I'm just going to keep running that way.
And this is a contract year for Dillon, so hopefully the myth is true. You know what I'm saying? They ball out their rookie. I mean, not their rookie year, but their contract year.
Yeah, because it's the end of his rookie deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say with the running back position, hopefully AJ Dillon does get paid, because that is a discussion that we could do an entire hour and a half on, talking about the running back position, why they are not getting paid at all after their rookie deal.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in another episode here on the Sports Angle.
Right.
Now, your receivers are interesting, because I will say your receivers, you do have some potential there, because you do have Romeo Doubs. You do have Christian Watson. There are some good up-and-coming guys. However, I will mention that not having Devontae Adams, you still haven't recovered from that, though. But there still is a hole at receiver one.
Yeah, he's not getting replaced. He can't really be replaced because of how great he was. He's a 1 or 2, whichever one you want to put him in the league. So coming into the year, Dobbs has had more chemistry with Love, because they said because Aaron Rodgers didn't go to training camps, he didn't do that. So Love and Dobbs already have that chemistry, because Love was the one throwing it to him in training camp the last year too, because Aaron Rodgers just doesn't show up for those type of for camps like that. So they have good chemistry. Watson was hurt though, but Watson is probably going to be that deep threat. They're going to have chemistry, but I think it's easier to get chemistry between the intermediate guys and slant guys instead of just that's going to be timing. You know what I mean? But tight end is what I worry about. We got young tight ends, and y'all just signed.
I actually wouldn't be worried though. I would not be.
Well, they said blocking wise, they said they've been getting blown up pass blocking. So that's the only question mark, and kicker.
I would say this though. The reason why I'm not worried about tight end is because unfortunately the Packers actually made a really good draft pick in day 2. You got Luke Musgrave, tight end from Oregon State. And being from the Pac-12, he's not really the best when it comes to pass blocking, when it comes to his ability to block. Once you get him up the field, you get him up 5 or 10 yards. He's really good at route running.
Yeah, no, he's one of the best. Musgrave's been with the ones. So he's been going back and forth with Jair too. So I like that. You know, I'm a talking guy though, but yeah, man. So they say that it's just a pass blocking with the tight ends, and it was like, oh, should we get Mercedes Lewis? Obviously, we can't get him back now. So yeah, man, I don't even want to talk about it. And kicker, they said the kicker is real inconsistent. The rookie we drafted. So
yeah, because you're replacing Mason Crosby after like 15 years. You're finally replacing him.
Right. So that's gonna be something to watch out for too. And he's the only kicker at camp. So to me, bring in some competition, man.
Now, did Crosby retire or did he just sign somewhere else?
No, he didn't sign. He's a free agent. So
oh wow,
I was hearing that the closer it gets to the season, if our Carlson is still inconsistent, we could get him, but some other team might just snatch him up right before the season. So yeah,
I mean, I think Robbie Gould is a free agent too. So there's a lot of veteran kickers.
I like Robbie Gould. Yeah, I like Robbie Gould, but Robbie Gould just wanted all that money. So we definitely ain't paying no kicker all that money after we just drafted one. So
yeah. And I will mention, since we have about 10 minutes left here on the show, your Green Bay Packers, I think, are ranked 14th in terms of offensive line. So once again, that's above average. You know, they have an above average offensive line. Now, you being a Packers fan, I will say, do you think that's a fair assessment, that they are kind of above average in terms of offensive line?
No, yeah. I think they're a good offensive line. You know what I mean? I think they could be. I think they should be more closer to top 10, but I'll take 14 until they prove themselves. But we still shuffling some players. We want the best 5 out there. So we got 6 good linemen. So they're shuffling around to see which ones fit best. So, but I think our line, if we stay healthy. If Bakhtiari stays healthy, we'll be definitely a top 10 offensive line if he stays healthy.
Hey, the beer-chugging machine himself, David Bakhtiari.
Yeah, man.
He's not going to be this
is definitely his last year.
That clip, by the way, him being at that Bucs game will never get old, man. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip where he just chugged 4 beers in less than like half a minute.
Yeah. I seen it because they put Rodgers to shame. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rodgers was trying to do it, he couldn't do it. Then Bakhtiari.
I was more impressed with his girl than him, but that's the point.
I like D-Bot, man, but I know he's a Rodgers guy, and He already said some questionable stuff, so he's out of here after this.
Yeah, if you ever watch the clip back though, watch his girl. Like she's just smiling and laughing while he's just chugging these 4 beers in less than half a minute.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to his girl, so I go back.
Like that's once again because of who I am. I always pay attention to everything except what's supposed to be on the camera. And it was just like, okay.
Yeah, I've only seen it a couple times. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go look.
Yeah,
here we go.
But anyway, and then your defense, arguably the best defense in that division. This is the Green Bay Packers. You do have the best defense heading into the year. But yet, NFL Network and certain analysts don't want to respect the fact that the Packers have the best defense.
They want to get none. We lose one guy, and the defense is trash, the offense, so the whole team is just going to fall because of Aaron Rodgers. It's crazy.
Right. Like, you lose Aaron Rodgers, and apparently you go from being a playoff contender every year to, you're one of the worst teams in football.
Right. I'm not gonna say anything can happen though, but come on, man, he had weapons, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't just Rodgers. He had a bad season last year. Rodgers was a great quarterback, but his last season it wasn't like we just replacing Jordan Love with this MVP. He didn't have an MVP season last year, you know what I mean? So it's not I think we could have won at least one more game with Jordan Love because they say Rodgers was hurt, so. Put Love in the game for one of those games, we probably could win. We probably would have been in the playoffs, but it's a lot of ifs though. But our defense, like I said, 8 first-round picks. Joe Barry needs to do something. This is he gonna get his walking papers if we're not a dominant defense this year.
Now we are going to very quickly talk about Detroit and Jared Goff. There's been an argument that he is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL based off of what he did last year. Now, I will give credit because he is from Cal. He came from the Pac-12. I did get to see him a little bit. Obviously, playing for the Lions, I've seen him play the last 4 times he's played Chicago. Look, he is a solid quarterback. So I would say he's either a fringe top 10 or either he's a solid top 15.
No, I'm with you.
I think that's pretty fair.
Because,
I think he's either on the bottom of the top 10 or he's right in the top 15.
He's done better than I thought he was going to do with the Lions. Like I thought the Lions were just going to fall off. Like I've never been a real Goff guy. I never really hated the guy either. Like Goff is just Goff. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't make or break your team really. You know what I mean? So he's just one of those middle of the pack guys. I mean, after quarterback wise, after top 5 or 6, you could just say it. Almost a lot of people you could say. You know what I mean? You can make the
right from like 7 to 14. It's pretty much kind of like interchange.
Exactly.
But I will say he has done a great job in Detroit, though. Like, if I'm going to give any props at all, he's done a great job in Detroit.
He's a top 5 in the NFC, so I know that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk about Geno Smith another time, but that's besides the point. Now, receivers, Jameson Williams has been suspended. He's also punching out teammates in training camp, so that's kind of a question mark there with Jameson Williams.
All right, I love it. I love to hear it. Keep it going, guys.
But they do have this really good receiver that came out of USC in Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has definitely been one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Nice, yeah. He really made some noise last year, and you're going to have to watch out for him. You know what I mean? He's a reason why, you know what I'm saying, Goff looks good because he makes plays. He's a playmaker, so teams are going to have to game plan for him now. He made a statement last year. If he's healthy, we had his brother. I don't know. He was garbage. So.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I know what his name is. Is it Equanimeous St. Brown?
Yeah, that. And he's nowhere near.
But nowhere near. But yeah, I will point out that when it comes to him, he has definitely become one of the best receivers in the NFL. And as our friend Dennis Holmes from Talkie Rich Tuesday says, he's a younger version of Cooper Kupp.
Okay,
so we'll see what happens there. Tight end, they have Laporta, who they drafted in the draft, so we'll see what happens there. Offensive line, they do have the best offensive line in that draft, in this NFC North. If I remember correctly, Pro Football Focus had the Lions in 7th in terms of offensive line, so they are solid in the top 10 out there in Detroit.
I can see that. Yeah. No, they're nice. Yeah, they definitely is. That's one of the reasons why The run game was so good last year. Like they was pounding
Well, I
that
think
ball.
Gibbs is going to do well as well because he has a top 10 offensive line.
Yeah. They was pounding that ball last year. Jamal, what's his name? Jamal
Williams out there in New Orleans.
Yeah. I'm glad he's gone.
And Swift, who's now in Philadelphia. Yeah. And that defense, Aiden Hutchinson is leading it, but unfortunately, they did not do much to fix the defense in Detroit. And for some reason, every analyst doesn't want to bring that up. Look, Cam Sutton is not enough. CJ Gardner-Johnson is not enough to just make the Lions all of a sudden this great defense. Because it's not.
Exactly. I mean, look at us. We had a garbage defense for a long time. You know what I mean? That's why I don't give Aaron Rodgers all the blame, because we had a bad defense. And it had him to take MVP seasons just to get to the playoffs and lose. You know what I mean? Goff is not that guy. Goff is not no MVP type quarterback like Aaron Rodgers was to put the team on his back, relax, and we're going to run the table years. They can't do that. They defense, like you said, they still didn't make enough moves to get to give their offense enough, cushion to where they can make mistakes and defense can bail them out. Nah, that defense is still trash.
And that's actually going to be their downfall. Like, their inevitable downfall is going to be the fact that they have an offensive-minded head coach, right? And unfortunately, Aaron Glenn, who I have a lot of respect for, former Dallas Cowboy defensive back, Aaron Glenn, I actually think that this might be his final year in Detroit if that defense doesn't improve with Aaron Glenn. So,
yeah, I don't think they could get worse, but they might go get 5 slots, but it's still not going to be enough. You know what I mean? Like, that defense is it's bad.
Yeah. So this actually has been a really good edition of the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. With us having about 2 minutes left, I just want to very quickly mention the dissemble of the Pac-12. The fact that it is being dissolved in front of our eyes. Now, being a University of Utah fan, I obviously know a lot about the Pac-12. And the fact that Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah are going to the Big 12. Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA are going to the Big 10. That leaves Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State as the remaining 4 in the Pac-12. And I'm going to say, as a Pac-12 fan, it's unfortunate to see, but when you didn't have the TV deal, you had to know this was coming. When they didn't have a dominant deal, if they didn't have $1 billion deal with CBS, with Fox, with NBC, with ESPN, this was inevitable. We all knew it was coming. So good luck to everybody that's leaving the Pac-12 and moving to someplace else. My prediction is that they will join the Mountain West, or the Mountain West and the remaining teams in the Pac-12 will combine and become a super conference. Anyway, this was the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Want to give props to Josh Bailey. Thank you for coming on the show. Go watch Stay Tuned Live.
Anytime, man.
Every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. Have a good one. Continue watching sports. Go support your local sports teams and have a good